Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Max Frequency Podcast. I'm your host, Max Roberts, and I have the honor and privilege of this time being joined by the People's Paper Bag, Razbuten.
It is
Raz.
me.
How are you?
I'm good. The People's Paper Bag. I'm surprised there are, unfortunately, a lot of other people that use paper bag avatars on YouTube.
It's a little surprising, and because it's not uncommon for people to not share their face, name, identity, and things like that. And you just would think like paper bag over the head would be a more common thing. I don't know.
I mean, I've seen a lot, but you know,
heck, it is a hat option in Animal Crossing. If Animal Crossing
true.
recognizes it, it's got to be a thing.
It works well for me. As it's in a lot of video games as a customizable option, I feel like I can always get me in a game. You know, it's good for footage stuff.
Raz joins Smash. Ba-da-da. And then you just, I could see that. Is it a me hat option?
I don't know. Probably not.
Probably.
I don't know.
not.
Do the Mii's have things that
There had to be
their
at some
head?
point, like you could put maybe like in a Tomodachi Life or something where you could
Maybe,
like
yeah.
put it on. I don't know. That sounds like something they would be able to do. But
Yeah.
for the uninitiated, for the people not in the paper bag fandom, Raz I talked about this with Wizawat on the last episode, but would you just describe yourself as a video essayist, YouTuber? Like, what do you job-wise call yourself?
You know, professional idiot, something like that.
Come on, nah, you're not an idiot.
Yeah, I'm back and forth on it. I mean, I guess video essayist. It is a conversation that I still to this day have troubles with when talking to more normal people in my life. Of what do you do? And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I produce videos.
I make YouTubes I make videos on YouTube.
Yeah, that's kind of what I say. Is I say I do YouTube.
You could say I work for Google. Like you could
I
just
work
say
for
that.
Google. Yeah, but then they think is something like not cooler, I guess, but more professional.
More Mr.
Think I'm a
Beast.
programmer. Yeah. No. Probably that I'm like a program, right? If I say I work for Google.
Oh, if you work for Google, sure.
Yeah.
You're out here writing code, not essays.
But yeah, no, I've kind of I'd say YouTuber. I think that's probably the term I like the most. Video essayist. I make video essays. Right. But I try to do some other things too. Like ideally it'd be really cool to be multifaceted on YouTube, have a video essay side and have a just talking side, in a less formal side. So we'll say I'm a video essayist aspiring to be a YouTuber.
I like it. That works. I've been watching you. I had to go back because I was talking to Wiz and I thought that my introduction to you was Gaming for a Non-Gamer, which is by far your most popular series, unless I'm wrong, but given the fact you make a lot of them. But I looked back and unless I'm researching someone, I'm not one to like dig deep in someone's YouTube archive. I kind of like pick a spot and go forward with maybe a bit of context. And I watched your inside video. So, and I don't feel like I went back to watch that. I've been watching you for a while is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
And you've been one of my favorites. I was thinking back at some guests on recent episodes. I'm really going for my kind of like, if you imagine Thanos and the Infinity Stones, like I'm getting my favorite YouTubers are all the stones. Because I had Javed Steradon from Good Blood. Yeah. You have had the guys from My Life in Gaming. Wizawat is a new addition to that because of just our interactions and stuff. So I'm like getting more powerful, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, gotta reach out to Jacob Geller next.
Jacob Geller. I would love Nakey Jakey. Nakey Jakey would be a dream.
Yeah. The Jacobs, they
yes, you gotta get the Jacobs. I actually saw Jakey, the Nakey Jakey, not Jacob Geller. I don't believe he was there, but I went to what is it called? The big boxing thing that iDubbbz put on twice in a
Creator
row.
Clash.
Creator Clash. I went to the second one in Tampa. It's about like 3 or so hours away from me. And Nikki Jakey was there walking down on the floor by the VIP area. I was like, ah! I was more excited for that than the boxing match.
Yeah, those people turn out to those things.
It's pretty.
And maybe I was there.
Maybe.
No one will
that would have
know.
been wild. I didn't see anyone with a bag.
I was
though.
not. I was definitely not.
Yeah. I only went because I'm close enough to go.
Mhm.
That's the only reason. I would not fly out for that. It was fun, though. It was a lot of fun. But like I said, I've been watching you forever, and you're often a fountain of inspiration for myself. So I do just want to say thank you off the front. Your insight and video style and all that stuff is great. And I called you out, not called you out. That sounds like confrontational. I referred to you in one of my most recent videos, which was about the games that got me through our miscarriages that my wife and I had before.
Yeah, I watched it.
Oh, you
I
did?
watched it last
Okay,
night.
so you saw the
Yes.
reference then at least.
Yeah.
Okay. And, that's kind of the stuff I pull from, and I've written about your stuff in the past on my website and all that fun stuff. So a big thank you right out of the gate.
Well, yeah, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. And what I really appreciate about that video is you are vulnerable on the internet, which I have been at times, and it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy to go over experiences that like some people will heavily relate to, and that will mean a lot to them, but then many others won't, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That they haven't been, been through something that evokes a similar sense or feeling. But like, that's okay. But there's always this hard thing of, will they get it? Will they be able to respond with empathy, or will they not, and then do the internet thing of assume the worst in you
Yes.
for sharing an experience.
Yeah. Thankfully, like in my very particular instance, that hasn't happened. That video has been received in a positive way. Now, my previous video about comparing skydiving mechanics from Fortnite and Tears of the Kingdom, that was received as if I was, I don't know, a criminal burglar in the night.
Yeah.
So, you win some, you lose some there. But I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, but on your scale, obviously, you're closing in on 1 million or 900,000. You have a lot of subscribers. You have a play button thing that all the middle schoolers probably envy on some level. And, you do from time to time put out these more vulnerable videos. And I realized as I went through all my questions and actually rewatched the video again yesterday for the umpteenth time, I really just watched your video. I hope this video doesn't suck far too much.
Yeah.
Which I think is one of your more vulnerable in the bunch. And it just, as someone who makes things, it resonates on a level of like, yeah, I do have a buttload of ideas and I don't know, like I can make it a tiny thing, but I want to put all myself into something. And then in your job, people resonating with something or watching it and engaging with it on some level is vital to like your life. In a way, for me, I make what I want, and it doesn't impact my family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I was talking to Wiz about it after you had reached out to me about this, and when I was looking through your channel, something I said to him is like, Max's channel is what YouTube should be. like just just looking at your video tab, right? It's like just a snapshot of your interest in your life and the kind of content you want to make in that moment that you make it and put it out, instead of a highly curated page of just the right thumbnails, of just the right titles, of just the right ideas. That, like, your channel is what I wish YouTube was. And
sure,
unfortunately, the powers that be and the
the algorithm
increasing, the ever increasing, hand of capitalism that the algorithm is like, no, like it's gotta pop. Unfortunately it's that direction, but I think there is something so pure about this is what I love and want to talk about, and this is what I'm interested in. And just doing that.
My channel is definitely that. It was just a smorgasbord of things from.
Mm-hmm.
I have all sorts of weird stuff. Now you have me going like way back. That's fun. Well, thank you. But for you, I'm curious about that kind of split between what you want to make and what the algorithm, the audience, all of that, like they look to you, right, to make a certain thing, a gaming for a non-gamer, calling stuff weird. These are like Razbuten staples. Dark Souls. One day I'll watch your Outer Wilds videos. You have like a thing that people, I would think, come to you and expect from you. But then you put out something that's like, man, Survivor's pretty crazy. And that video is just so good in that sense. How do you balance that as someone, you have an English major, you're a writer, you've clearly figured out what I'm, I guess, kind of coming to grips with is just if you want someone to read your writing, you can't give them a book or 18,000 words about the history of Naughty Dog. You have to make some sort of video that's called like complete retrospective of the entire thing,
which is unfortunate. That's a good question. I think what's interesting is there are so many different, I guess, audiences to consider, right? Because if we're talking about my audience, that is different than the YouTube audience. So a video like, I hope this video doesn't suck, a video like, honestly, even the Outer Wilds video. I know I am one of the Outer Wilds guys.
You're in the club, as Javid says.
Yeah, but it's not like those videos do that well relatively, relative to the rest of the channel, right? Those,
sure.
Unless it's part of a bigger concept that like can stretch further, the stuff that I've done on just Outer Wilds, like usually appeals to that core demographic who likes me, who it's not that they like my topics. It's not that they like the thing I'm talking about, but it's that they have bought into me. Right. So, something like the Outer Wilds video, something like, I've noticed like a lot of like my music videos I do about music, those don't always stretch as far. So it's more of like just people that share kind of similar interests to me. That's like the core audience stuff. And when I do that, I think I strengthen the bond, I guess, with the core audience, right? The people who are like fans of
you,
the channel. Yeah, me. It feels weird saying I'm not you.
It does feel weird to say like people like me, people like me enough to watch my stuff, and even some people even give me money,
Yeah. Well, what are you guys doing? Do you why do that? Why
please check out the Patreon for Nebula.
Please, it would be helpful. But it's that constant mix of being like, hey, this would help me make more stuff that you like, but also, I don't want to waste your time or money, But yeah, so, right, it's kind of that mix between certain things will appeal to the people who will watch anything I put out, and then other things go, further into the algorithm. And I think it is hard to find that mix. I don't really know where gaming for a non-gamer fits into that, because those are definitely my biggest videos. And there is also a lot of me in them, and obviously a lot of my wife. Like, I think a part of what people like about it is that our, relationship has some funny moments, like any relationship.
Sure.
My favorite part of your video was the very end with your
I
wife asking about Hades.
Yeah, so I was just like, I gotta include this because it
Mhm,
makes fun of me. But I did ask her, I'm
mhm.
like, are you cool if I put this in here? And she's like, the only problem would be if my students saw this and they're never
Yeah.
gonna find it. So whatever. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I think it's those humanizing things that people like say. I mean, it, to a degree it is parasocial, and that's a whole thing that doesn't have to be bad, I suppose, but can get bad.
right.
But, people like seeing organic moments in real relationships between people, whether it's friendships or, romantic relationships. I think that is appealing to people in content. It's like authenticity, I suppose, right? It
Yeah,
is wanting to see something of people having a good time together and people having fun. Um, yeah,
that's
with people who care about each other.
that's something I grab onto when I'm watching or making something. It's like, how do I make this like more? This probably sounds like not the right word, but like practical. When
Mm-hmm.
when you watch like a big blockbuster movie and they use practical effects, like the old Star Wars or maybe the early Fast and Furious movies, those are what I go to. Like there's something real about it that
Mm-hmm.
you feel in your gut. And then you go to the other end of that spectrum, go to a modern day huge CG thing, and something just doesn't quite click. I feel
Yeah.
like those moments where the lady you live with, you know, defeats a boss in Elden Ring, and like just the
Mm-hmm.
sheer joy that you can hear coming out of her voice in that moment of triumph, that many people who've played those games have felt themselves. But I don't know, there's something that resonates there on the audience end where you like it and you kind of hold on to it, like,
Yeah.
I'm here for this one bit, to see her win.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people like experiencing stuff through the lens of someone else, right? Especially obviously stuff that they've experienced before. A huge thing to bring it back to Outer Wilds, as I always do. A huge thing with the Outer Wilds community is watching streamers play it. Like,
mm.
like I haunt the Outer Wilds section on Twitch. If you have streamed Outer Wilds on Twitch, there is a decent chance that for part of it, I was in there lurking. It's something that so many people like doing, because just watching those moments of discovery that you really can only have once with the game,
Right.
it's just really fun to see other people discover it and have that excitement about it. And I've like recognized other Twitch chatters in like
Lurking.
Outer Wilds chats. It's like, oh yeah, hey, we're here again, man.
Yep.
I see you. It's an interesting community. But to that point, I think part of what resonates so much with Gaming for a Non-Gamer is, people remember their early experiences with games. And I think also people have tried similar things with their significant others or parents or siblings, of getting them into gaming when they're not super familiar with it and seeing those moments of joy. So then to have it kind of captured on video, through my wife, they're like, oh, this reminds me of this great memory of mine. So I think there's this connection they can make to that, which is probably appealing.
Yeah, it's human.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, you're talking about this. I'm going to jump down in my notes. I feel like this is a really good spot for this. But some more like personal moments in your video, I think of like the King of the Mountain moment with your friend in Journey, where he bugged into the mountain and it's like, nope, I'm done. It's like, how do you not see the end of Journey? And that reminds me to when I made some friends like, you got to play Journey.
Yeah.
And you make them sit down. And really, like you said about my channel earlier, it's a snapshot of what I'm into at the moment. And as someone who's just my very first YouTube channel was about card magic tricks, and then the second one was about Smash Brothers Brawl, and then that dovetails into what I like to make and do online. But my entire life has been about sharing the things that I'm engaged with and I'm passionate about with other people. And to tie that to your Princess Bride video, and kind of the zinger or whatever you close with is, I think at the time they were talking about a possible remake or something, which doesn't sound up my alley.
Yeah.
Or anyone's, but you want to pass on the version that was passed on to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, as we're both new dads, but like, that's the thing that I'm most excited about.
Oh, yeah.
Is sharing the things that I love with them. Now, whether or not they also enjoy them and engage with them is completely a separate thing. Like, I'm not going to force my kid to, love Smash Brothers, but
Yeah.
Just those moments of introduction, whatever they may be, I'm excited about. Do you feel the same way about your kids?
Yeah, I am nervous and anxious about it,
right?
To a degree, because I think my parents were quite good at not putting on too many expectations of the person that they like on me, of who they wanted me to be. I really appreciate that about them. I am sure, though, that the things they thought I would be interested in are not what I am interested in. I think
that's always the case.
I think it took, my dad and I a long while until we had like a shared hobby, which ended up being like rock music, 70s rock music. I got really into the Who when I was younger. And
my mom loves the Who.
Yeah. So that's when my dad and I started connecting more on that, but it took a long while. I think he thought we'd probably connect over sports earlier, but I didn't really get into sports until I was older. So sometimes I guess you also just have to wait as a parent. Like, I wasn't
always
into
waiting.
Football. Yeah. Yes. I wasn't into football when I was in elementary school. By the time college came around, we talked about it all the time. So my point in all that is I want to temper my expectations with it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm not going to sit my daughter in front of Outer Wilds and be like, okay, now love it. Like, love this. Like,
love this. Love me.
If you don't walk away from this with, an existential crisis and an understanding of the universe, like, then you failed. It's wanting to be careful about placing too high of expectations on them loving the things you love. But of course, I am excited to introduce gaming to my kids. It's so hard to imagine my youngest at this point being interested in anything because she's still in that little baby stage of mostly a sack of potatoes that smile sometimes and spits up a lot.
Just always needing to be burped.
Yeah. But my toddler, she definitely, has a personality now and is interested in lots of things. So it'll be interesting to see how that takes shape as she gets older and older. We haven't really done much of an introduction to video games for her yet.
Same. The closest my kid's gotten is she saw us play Rock Band one time.
Okay.
And held the microphone. So she doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And as a baby, she would, I think in your 2022 video, your kid's taking a nap and you're finally playing something.
Yeah.
I've played my fair share of games with her in my arms asleep. So
yes, my newborn, I call her newborn, but she's not that newborn anymore. But
the newer one,
the newer one, through all of Shadow the Erd Tree, I was holding her. Through Animal Well, I was holding her. Through a lot of Skyrim this year, I was holding her. So she has been my companion for a lot of games in this season of life. But
isn't that interesting that for me, I think back to some of the games I was playing when my kid was new, and I would hold her. Like God of War Ragnarok came out 2 months after she was born, or I was playing Resident Evil 4 for a podcast at the time. And it's in my brain, now my kid is intrinsically tied to that stuff.
Sure.
In a way I never expected. And so I can't separate the two. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just the connections that you your brain is going to make, especially you're in that stage where your brain is so mush.
By sleep
you've barely been
deprivation.
sleeping.
You never knew you could
Yeah.
feel this way about another human being.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's like I think your brain is trying to reform and create connections, and it's just like video game. Okay, we'll build around this. Like, okay, good.
Build around baby.
Yeah. But yeah, with my toddler, for her exposure to games so far, she did see us play Animal Crossing a bit. And yeah, my wife and I made a new island to, just start over from the beginning, which we didn't get super far on that, but it was fun for a little while. And she saw us playing, and it was just cool. Like, she thought it looked cool, like the bright colors.
Sure.
And then I was like, okay, I don't want her just like watching
zonked
me play. So what I did was I like went into the camera mode where you can fix the camera, and I went by like houses and trees and bulletin boards, and would have the character hide behind stuff and have her like point and call out what the character was hiding behind. So she'd be like,
a little hide
the
and
house.
seek.
Yeah. And then have the character come out and like play peekaboo for a bit. So for like 2 weeks in our household, she would run up to the TV and be like, hide and seek, peekaboo, peekaboo. So that was fun, but that's been her gaming exposure so far.
Yeah, like I said, I think just some Rock Band, nothing too major. I really intentionally plan on like an actual attempt at introduction when she's older, like 4 or 5, kind of is what my brain is thinking. Like, here's Pac-Man,
Yeah.
Kind of start somewhere simple there. We are going to introduce her to movies. She watches a little, like very little TV in general. But when she turns 2, we're going to put on My Neighbor Totoro. We're going to see if she'll sit through that. Well, no 2-year-old sits through anything, though.
No.
We'll see how it goes.
Watch it in fits and starts, but yeah.
We'll see.
So one thing I think a lot about with games, which will be interesting when we do a proper introduction for her. I mean, to get on a tangent, as I am off to do, like, where do you start? Do you start with the Miss Pac-Man, right? Is that the best place?
So
here's Pong.
Yeah, I don't space. What's the one off the computer at college? Yeah. I don't know. I was gonna subscribe to kind of the Andy Bow theory that he did, which was basically go through history in like kind of a swath. So it starts like in the arcade, then goes to the NES, and so on and so forth. So by the time the kid is, I don't know how old, it was an interesting documentation of the process. I'm like, okay, this at least gives some contextual history without being inundated with well, what skin do I need in Fortnite to, get the right dance move or whatever? Start with just ghosts and dots and work our way up is my intention. But who knows?
Yeah. Which I feel like I valued so much starting on the NES, which definitely by the time I was playing games was, 10, 15 years outdated, right? Like the N64, like when I really started playing games, the N64 had been out for a few years. So
yeah, same.
So, I didn't need to start with that, but I did. And I think, and my parents didn't know either. Like they didn't play games. So they really lucked out on giving me a gaming education without knowing anything about games. Not that they would have seen it as a gaming education. They were just like, oh, your cousin gave us these, so here you go. So that worked out. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, aside from the starting point, it's also like, what is the gameplay going to look like? And I think probably what you found as just a parent in general is the thing you give to your kid, they will almost never use it in the way that it's supposed to be used.
Everything.
Yeah, it's the classic, like, here's the toy. Okay, you're playing with the box now, sort of thing.
Yep.
And yeah, there's a really good video by Heavy Eyed.
Okay.
I don't know. Are you familiar?
I am because of Wiz now. Like
Of Wiz? Okay, yeah.
I've picked up on the names now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I've learned about who Iron Pineapple is. So like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting introduced all
Yeah.
around. I did watch
yeah.
Heavy Eyed's Zelda, one of his Zelda videos,
Mhm.
I think. So
Yeah. So he had one about Breath of the Wild, like a goodbye to Breath of the Wild, where he had a few other folks who do YouTube give their thoughts on Breath of the Wild, and Javed did a section for that where he talked about his daughter playing Breath of the Wild and how she would just play with the horses. Like she would collect the horses, check them in at the stable, and that was the game for her. And she played it for a good while and had a ton of fun, but didn't care about saving Zelda or doing shrines or anything. It was just like, here's this space where I can play with horses, you know? And I think that I'm excited to see the ways in which my daughter breaks video games.
yeah, it is. That specific example with Breath of the Wild just reminds me of those early stories of Miyamoto himself playing the early demos of the game, and where he just climbed the trees and picked apples on like what would have been the great. It's like, well, is this good? I don't know, you know. And in the case of that particular game, yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, they never interact with anything the way you think, and it's hard not to draw an analogy to your gaming for a non-gamer. Now, I'm not saying turn your children into content, Raz. Actually,
No.
far from it. Please don't do that.
Yes.
The day you make a video that's like, now my kids are playing games, it's like, oh no, what happened?
Yeah.
But in a way, you will eventually, and I will, be performing informal experiments. I mean, isn't parenting just an informal experiment?
Sure. Constantly, yeah. Yeah.
And it's going to be, I think that there's probably millions of different ways parents could respond, but I think in general, you could respond with, well, how cool is it that they respond to it in this way? And they discovered something that I never even would have considered. Or I guess you could get mad and be like, no, you have to go save the princess.
Yeah.
That feels like not the answer.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited about, is to see what she gets interested in and engages with, and whether that's games, movies, art, sports. I mean, that's how the universe would treat us, right? Is our kids would get super into sports that we were never into as children, and we'd have to figure it all out.
Yeah. Have to watch curling for
curling and gosh, all sorts of sports. I don't know.
Yeah. No offense to curlers, you know.
No offense to
any curling fans listening to the podcast.
If there is a curling fan listening to the podcast, let me know. I guess I would love to know.
Yeah.
Kind of to tie it to like circle back to the creative side and your job. Two things that you've done it twice now, not two different things, I suppose, but you've taken a paternity leave. Both times. And your job is one that often dictates the need for consistency. Or at least that is what the back end of YouTube Studio tells me, is consistency. And you do what I think is the right thing. You actually spend time with your kids as babies, which is something that, like in my job at the time, I had, I think, 2 days that I could do because there was no paternity leave.
Oh, jeez.
And it was just sick time, and I only had accrued like 2 days of sick time. Thankfully, we worked from home, so really it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But you, as you're self-employed, like, you know, you have to do ads and certain things, I'm sure, all the time, but like you're your own boss. And you took that time, and I guess, how does that work for you? Like, when do you decide, now I got to come back, and like, how do you get back onto that horse? Because, again, I think taking the time off to be with your family is of the utmost importance, and especially at these critical moments. So I'm not saying, well, no, you better keep making those videos, buddy.
Yeah.
But how do you, I guess, come to wrestle with that aspect of your job, which does demand some sort of consistency.
Yeah, I mean, consistency in the YouTube space is interesting. I think it actually means a lot of things when YouTube kind of pushes that idea, because you can, like, you don't need to post a video once a week to be successful. I don't. I post maybe once a month. Since having kids, it's been, 10 videos a year maybe, which is not ideal. I would like to get to a spot where I'm posting more than that on the main channel, but it's been enough to be able to do this full time, like with that level of output. But I guess my point is, you can kind of go on decently long breaks and come back and not have that ruin your spot in the algorithm, right? It's not like, because think about, like, H Bomber Guy or Jenny Nicholson. Granted, they're going and then coming back with like 4-hour epics.
Sure.
But still, that, they're from a view count perspective, they aren't hurt at all by not posting every week or month or year even. They do all right. So it's like, the algorithm does have a way of like what I think what it looks for in consistency isn't just about how long since your last upload, right? I do think early on it's probably more important to be consistent, because at this point, I think within this little carved out space of gamers online, like, I think Razbuten is a known name, right? It's a
Sure.
relatively known entity. People know of me.
Pretty sure there's a Kotaku article or two about your videos.
Yeah. I think, like, I'm in the knowledge of people who watch video essayists, right? Positively or negatively. Like, they're like, yeah, I know that guy.
You're in there. Like I said, you're one of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah. So if I didn't post a video for a year, people wouldn't be like, I forgot who this guy was. They'd be like, oh, he's finally back. Hell yeah, he's back, Whereas early on, if you take those long breaks and someone subbed to you after watching one video and you don't have, you don't have, I guess, that kind of, cultural relevance. That feels like a weird way to put it, but
like,
yeah,
credibility with an audience, like,
and also catalog that people are familiar with, right? Like then they just will be like, oh, I forgot who you were. And yeah, so I think consistency early on is pretty, like, or at least, at a certain channel size is probably more important, at least consistency of uploads. Now, of course, my income is affected, even though, like, I'm not, I guess what I'm saying there is, when I don't post for a few months, I'm not worried that when I come back, I'm done, And I think for a while that was an assumption a lot of people made about YouTube, is that if you take a break and come back, you're screwed. But from my experience, and also from conversations I've had with people who know more about it and know more about how the algorithm works, it doesn't, like, that, that isn't the determining factor of your channel being a success or not.
It's almost like TV in a way, like the bear goes away every year and it comes back, and that the show's quality should be maintained in that sense. So actually the TV analogy probably works pretty well. I guess that's why more people watch YouTube on their TVs now than actual TV, I suppose.
Yeah. So, like, the main thing that taking a break does is just means that I'm making less money during that period, which, that just comes out to budgeting and planning ahead and all that stuff. Yeah, budgeting and planning ahead. And
because thankfully kids usually have, they have this roughly average 8 to 9 month timer that when things are going to get
yeah
crazy.
Yeah. Not that we've always been perfect about,
No,
about
no one is
planning
perfect at the budget.
ahead. But yes, yeah, the budget is never perfect. Neither of us are accountants, and it shows. But you know, it's like you can plan ahead for those things, and then just you know, luckily for us, uh both of our babies are spring babies, which means that it's been paternity leave in spring, which pretty famously is not a great time to make money on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, I mean the time is fall. Fall is the time.
Why?
November and holiday ads, I believe, is the big part of it.
I would have
also
never
like
even have
end
thought
of
of
year.
that. Huh.
Quarter four is when a lot of companies are trying to, I think that they like, I'm not a business guy. I need to start. I have an English major, right?
Journalism.
From my,
like we're in the same, you know, we were
yeah.
buildings
From
apart.
my understanding, though, is a lot of companies don't want to end the year with a surplus, because generally, I think when higher ups or certain people see that there's a huge surplus, they're like, oh, then we'll give you less next year, right? So they want to spend the money they have towards a thing. And quarter four, not only is it a great time for buying because of the holidays, but also they're like, well, this is the time to spend what leftover budget we have and have saved up for. So it just ends up being a pretty big windfall time of AdSense paying out more. I think, you know, sometimes sponsorships in general will pay out more.
Get your Raycon earbuds for the holiday
So if you
sale.
see, if you see people ratcheting up their content production in October, November, and the beginning of December, that is why, you know.
Huh.
So, you know,
you learned something.
We lucked out, and I didn't have to think about taking, you know, whether or not I should take a paternity leave, because it was just obvious that it would be most beneficial to our family for that time for me to be taking off work.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, maybe if it had been in the fall, it would have been harder to justify, because, you know, what ends up being a large part of my income comes during those months. So I'm really thankful of the timing of things in our life, that I didn't have to worry about that side of it, of like, do I spend time in this very important stage, or make sure that we can afford the basic things we need for them? So yeah, I lucked out there.
Good job. Good job, family, paper bag family.
Yes.
For being spring oriented, new life.
Spring. Yeah. All of us are spring. So
there you go. My wife is, I told you, I think before the show, twin. So her birthday, they were born on their dad's birthday. Their mother's birthday is a week later. And then my brother is in between those sets of birthdays. And then my daughter was originally supposed to be an October kid, but she decided she just had to fit into the month of September too, and came in at the end of the month. So it's just like, September is like Christmas for us. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we have the opposite. We're fall oriented over there. How does this kind of gap, this paternity leave, or just a gap in general, whatever it may be, how does that impact you creatively?
I don't know. I tried this time to like prepare better for when I would go back to work. A big thing for me since my first daughter was born is like focus has been a problem. And I think this is a lifelong thing, that focus has been a problem, and I've been trying to figure out the root of it a fair bit recently. And I guess my point is, it definitely became a much bigger problem once I had kids, because when I procrastinated or wasn't able to focus in the past, I would just stay up for 24 hours and get it done. You know, video needs to be done. Okay, I'm up for the next 2 days. Let's do this. You know, the procrastination right before the deadline, it was possible. But yeah, once you have a kid And then once you have 2 kids,
Ugh.
you can't do that.
No, well, it would take a supreme amount of caffeine to make that possible, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And it's not good for anyone in the family.
Yeah, you just can't get away with it in the same way that you could before. So, yeah, I tried during paternity leave. I read some self-help books about productivity and whatnot to mild success.
They all have
maybe.
nuggets.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I've learned.
You have to because then you have to implement it, and you can't.
Mm-hmm.
I just read this year Atomic Habits, which probably
that's what I read.
I was gonna say it's probably on your list. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing everything James Clear said, but some of the stuff
yeah.
is stuck and round. And one thing personally that I've learned about myself this year and thought about for a long time, but never really kind of accepted it until now is like I totally have ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
and folks with ADHD definitely can fall into that procrastinate, do it at the last minute, hyper focus. Like in this miscarriage video, I probably spent well, I did spend far too much time just thinking about font and color decisions, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't need to stress out about this much, and
Yeah.
also be so zoned in where I'm cooking dinner and I'm thinking about which font to use. It's like, well, how do I detach from this? So I hear you in the sense of, I'm not saying you have ADHD, but just saying that.
Well, that's what I've been trying to figure out.
It's one of those things.
I have taken a few assessments, and actually next week I'll be going in to figure out, if that's what it is, or, if it's something else, if it's just situational. I mean, I think a lot of people, their focus and ability to focus has just changed in modern day, but also
the
I think
phones have totally made us.
Yeah. And then I think especially after the lockdowns, that has just shifted how a lot of people engage with things. We'll see.
No, I hear you there. It took me a long time because in my brain I'm like, maybe I have this, and my brother has it, my dad has it, so logically, it's all there.
It would make sense.
But I didn't want to label myself with it, and I personally don't want to use medication for that. Simply because addiction runs in the family. I'm like, I don't really want to take legal speed. And I understand that statement itself is medicine can help a lot of people. I'm personally just avoiding it for myself, given the very particular situation.
I mean, it's the right choice for a lot of people. It is not the right choice for everyone.
Yeah. I watched Jaden's animations video on it. I'm like, that sounds great for her. And so to counter that decision personally is like, I have to do all these different things, and you read these books and different tools and all this stuff. And it's hard to figure that
Build
stuff
skills,
out.
create systems.
Yep. Yeah. Tools and all sorts of stuff in place. And then it all goes out the window and the deadline shows up and you're like, ah.
So did your brother have very obvious ADHD?
He was more of the, as a kid, bouncing off the wall kind of like what you would typically have. You'd go, oh, that kid's got ADHD type thing.
Yeah. So then where it's just you who's sitting in the classroom thinking about
right.
What if Mario's hat could turn a little bit to the left? Would that change his character design in game? And then the teacher talks for 20 minutes about something that nothing went into your head, but that's not going to be noticeable comparatively.
Right. I would get my homework done and do everything on time. And actually we were from 2nd grade to 7th grade, I was homeschooled. So I did my schooling at my own pace and was self-driven in that sense. So there was well, I'm sure there was on some level, my mom could have theoretically been like, oh, this is interesting or whatever. But she was busy figuring out that her other kid had it in a different way.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, but I was over here reading, getting things done, but also like super pouring, I wish I still had
Mhm.
it, but like I would take copious notes on video games, like to an
Sure.
absurd degree
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a kid. It's like, here's how the crazy hand and master hand tag team you. It's like, how do I beat event 50 in Smash Brothers Melee, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or stay up all night playing Paper Mario and be like, this is how you get the optimal badge, equipping.
Mhm.
So it was there just in a different way, which makes ADHD itself a wild thing because it manifests in so many different ways for people.
Yeah.
It's
hyperactive versus inattentive.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I zero in on something. Like I said before, YouTube, I'm the Razbuten #1 fan right now because I keep going to the channel. It's like, do you want to watch
Yeah.
more Raz? And it's like, well, yes, I do. I need to, but I promise YouTube, it's not like this forever. Like watching it all the time. I still will watch your videos, Raz. Promise.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
But so I'm thinking about creativity, and one of the things I took from I'm sure you've read it, On Writing by Stephen King. It feels like a must for writers. I'm gonna assume you've read it.
I have not read cover to cover. For
you've read
different
bits.
classes, I've read,
Okay.
passages and whatnot. Yeah.
But he talks about how he was always reading, and
Mhm.
he's one of obviously America's most prolific authors of just cranking it out, and pretty consistent quality. But he's always reading. And in my head, I mean, the same goes for any creative endeavor. I think you have to consume stuff to know, like to build up your own taste and then what you want to try and implement and do things. So are you like, obviously you have to play a bunch of games. What did you just put out your what you played in May video? May was just last month. Super excited.
It is like a week ago was May. It's wild.
It's crazy.
June, baby.
So,
We're in June today. Yeah.
So you're playing a bunch of games. I assume you're watching all sorts, YouTube to some degree. Like, how do you find yourself? Does that go up in the off periods, and do you come back feeling refreshed, or are you just like, man, I really want to make a video about Skyrim, so I'm going to dedicate the next 2 months to playing Skyrim again?
Yeah. I mean, so I guess what I can say about to touch a bit on the paternity thing and tie into this, like during paternity leave, I tried to think of some structure things, tried to, read Atomic Habits to become a perfect human. Keeping a journal now, and kind of wrote out things that I'd be interested in, thinking about and pursuing once, I stopped being on leave. So yeah, I kind of tried to plot out what I wanted to do for the rest of the year, of which I haven't really done most of it, and won't
It's
do
June.
most
Don't
of
worry
it.
about it.
Right. It's only June. But yeah, but it did help me think about, like, these are the ideas that I'm feeling more passion towards, and these are the things that I will have to do to complete it. Right. So Skyrim, that was a thing of like, just constantly think about, why is this game that I think is, mid, the worst thing you can call a game, mid.
Yeah.
Why? Obviously, like, I'm an outlier. There are plenty of people that will share the same opinion.
Don't worry, I'm with you, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Bethesda person in general, so you're not alone in the sense of thinking Skyrim is mid.
Yeah, but I had all these thoughts about it and wanted to build it out into something bigger. So yeah, I kind of I definitely used time off to ideate and like be like, okay, this is how long I think this project will take, and this is how many things I need to do and complete to make this project. So let's try to plot these out as best as I can, So yeah, I was thinking about the Why Skyrim video like 5 months probably before it came out, right? Like,
That sounds appropriate for Skyrim. That's a lot of research and playtime, man. That's
yeah.
There's a big dedication to it.
So yeah, I mean, I think And I guess also this ties back to the first question that you asked that I don't think I answered.
It's a journey, man.
Well.
Every interview is a journey.
It's a journey. It's a journey. Of like, I think that my videos, and probably I guess everyone who makes anything, there are two like somewhat distinct ways to do it. There's like working from the outside going in and the inside going out, right? So when it's rewards are weird, right? That's me noting that I feel like a lot of rewards in video games don't feel that rewarding. They are just kind of a circle of here's a bright flashing improvement, but actually everything else in the world also improves. So your improvement, you are on a treadmill, like you are not going faster. It's like having that feeling while playing games. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to play all these games that have a good example of it and look through my footage of games I've played in the past and think of games that are good examples for it. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I have the idea, I have the story, and now I need to build the support for that. Where on the other hand, with something like Gaming for a Non-Gamer, like the first video of that is a little different because, that was before I decided to, I guess, like, serialize it.
Yeah.
But, there's no there's no story in the pure idea of my wife plays Tears of the Kingdom, right? Like that's
the story
reveals
just itself through whatever she does.
Yeah. So for something like that, it's like, okay, we are going to play this game, and then we do it, and then the experience happens, and sometimes the connections are super obvious of this is the narrative to work through, and sometimes I have to discover it, right, as we go through. And I think another example of stuff I do that is like the games that got me through each year is, is pulling back, looking at everything I played in a year, thinking about how I felt throughout the year, thinking about the important things to me, and then kind of like, not physically doing this, but putting them up against the timeline of putting the games I played up against the timeline of my life that year and being like, this is like I was really stressed during this time, and I played 40 hours of, Elden Ring or whatever
for the fifth time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's kind of two different ways to discover video types is like, I guess, topic first and then build out based on examples, or like, here's just the thing and I have to find the heart of it. Within it. So like, I play games each month. I do the monthly videos as just kind of a way to share some thoughts. Sometimes there's reason behind playing the games. Sometimes it's just like, I want to play a video game, and maybe we'll figure out something later.
Maybe this will be useful.
Yeah. So like, it's like, it happens all sorts of ways all the time.
Yeah.
There's not just one approach that I go about of, I'm playing these 6 games so I can make this video. It's more of, sometimes it'll be that, and sometimes it'll be like, hey, I played these 6 games and I think there's a video there.
Yeah, it's in my very, very short time of trying this essay format in general, I've already kind of discovered that, like you saying, it hits home with me. The Fortnite Zelda video, I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom for the first time. I'm like, man, this is a lot like falling out of the sky in Fortnite, and that's pretty fun. Like, and then you figure out like, oh, this is, at least in my case, like this is what I thought connected those. And then the miscarriage one was kind of like, I woke up. It was actually after Wiz told me that he had read the article on my website where I link to, this kind of comes full circle to, I hope this video doesn't suck. And I just kind of offhandedly told him, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. And also going on at this time, but I didn't say it in the article, was like we were going through a miscarriage and it was like not fun. And then I woke up at 3:40 that morning. I'm like, I could do a video about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down and like looked at the timeline, and I truly realized what I was doing with the games, kind of like your year in review, which is why I mentioned it in my video.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, it's the same thing. I didn't realize that me getting the platinum in all the God of War games was actually a subconscious coping mechanism for dealing with a truly terrible thing. But hindsight's 2020, I guess.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's what's so cool about creating in general. I was going to say just writing, but I think creating in general, like you can draw inspiration from all sorts of stuff and things bubble up, or you go in intentionally and like, man, Uncharted 2 was really one of the great games of all time. And now it's really, it's hard to say that about stuff anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, life is weird, huh?
It is.
Life is weird, huh? I mean, I think to bring it back, we were talking earlier about just those memories that you have of playing games while holding your kid, right? I think in life, even before kids, to be clear, this is always the case. It's like, of course, everything you do informs everything else to a degree and is like there's nothing in our life out of context. How high do I sound right now?
I mean, it's true though. Things build and riff off each other all the time. I mean, it's look from the things of like, what is the hottest trend in fashion or tech, and the way that filters down to game design. I mean, I guess in games, it takes 8 years to come up with a hero shooter, but this is the year of the hero shooter again, even though Overwatch was out 8 years ago.
Oh, what a sad story. It's tough.
But it's, oh my gosh, it's so funny. And it's funny specifically because I asked Wiz like what he thought about those two games, and in one gap between one episode, Concord's gone. It's so bad, man. Terrible for the team and what few fans Concord may have had.
It'll be interesting to see what they do, because it sounds like they're not just burning the code. It sounds like they're going to try to relaunch at some point.
Maybe they hope. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Dark. Anyway. Rest in peace, Concord.
Yeah.
Marvel Rivals. Hopefully you have a better shot. Deadlock seems to be a surefire thing.
I mean, it's Valve, right?
It's Valve.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like to the context part of it, or what I was trying to get at, is like, everything you experience, you will tie to your life in some way. And I don't know, not everyone has to pull back and be introspective and be like, wow, Miss Pac-Man really changed my life. Like,
sure.
I played it just at the right time. Like, I think entertainment, you can just view it as entertainment, right? Yeah. I don't think we always need to do the work of how does this have an emotional impact on me. But like, also those connections will happen, especially as time goes on. Like, you will look back and be like, oh, that was really a special thing or a special time in life of playing X game or watching this movie or having this show be on the air, and appreciate it for that. I mean, I don't know. There's this trend that I am really not a huge fan of, that I see a lot of, like, gaming is dead. Like AAA has killed video games, and indie games are king and stuff like that. Indie games, many are incredible. AAA games have some very bad business practices and are hurting like video game production.
Yeah.
To be clear, like these things are the case.
Absolutely true, but it doesn't have to be so extreme to the sense of every AAA game is exactly killing the medium that we all engage in love with. Like, sure, does it suck that it takes a Naughty Dog 7 to 8 years to put out a video game? Yeah, and the crunch practices at that studio,
Yes.
are they not good for the people there? No, they're not. But how do you balance these two things? How do you balance their creative ambitions to make these super realistic things and art that moves forward? It's like, man, remember when Uncharted 2 was the best video game ever and it only took 2 years to come out?
Yeah. Well, and I think what's hard about that is sometimes they will have a very good point that I think is the true heart of it, which is I am whatever, most of them are younger than me, but like, I am in my late 20s or early 30s. I have responsibilities. I have a full-time job. Maybe they have kids. Most of them don't, who I see these videos from, but maybe some of them do. And it's like, it's just, how could gaming be the same as when I was 10 and played Ocarina of Time with my brother, like for 8 hours on a weekend,
Yeah.
Like, it's just, life has so many more responsibilities. And that's the part of those videos that I do like and am interested in. And I think that's kind of the heart of it for a lot of people. And I don't want to say it's just nostalgia, but it's like, it is that life is much more complicated today.
Yeah. And there's a longing for us to, it's strange. It's like we had all the time in the world, but we had no money or we didn't even have the taste. I think back to like some of the games I'd rent that would be a complete waste of time today, but I didn't have the taste. But now I have the taste and the money, but I don't have the time.
Yeah. Well, and I think the reason I specifically say a lot of the people that I see these videos from don't have kids is like, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced it, and it, like, the joy that a kid can have from playing with a wooden block is immense, right? And anyone who is a parent of a kid that's, older than a couple months, who's starting to interact with things, like, can see that there's so much joy to be found within the mundane and discovering things for the first time. And like, this is a big reason why people have kids, right? Yeah. Or a big reason, like a big source of the joy that comes from having kids is seeing them discover things. And yeah, I think that's the excitement, right? About having them hopefully enjoy video games,
hopefully,
and maybe even the games we like. Like, it's them discovering it. And things are fresh to them. They tell you a knock. My daughter went knock knock. I said, "Who's there?" She said, "Boo." I said, "Boo hoo," and she's like, "Daddy, don't cry." It's like, yeah, I've heard this joke a million times, but she cracked up saying it to me, and cracked up when I had a reaction, right? And it's those things that are, like, to us so mundane and so overdone and played into the ground, but to her is the first joke she's told.
Exactly.
It's hilarious to her.
It's the funniest thing.
Yeah, and it's just because she heard someone else say it, but to her, it's novel and new. So I think that is what people miss, is that feeling of novelness and newness to something, that freshness, and also, not having to pay rent or a mortgage or or insurance, like all these other things that make life hard. But it's that ability to have so much joy. And I think in modern games, there is tons and tons of joy that kids will love and have fun with. So I think there are so many good modern games. I think there are obviously problems with the AAA system and the way, I mean, the layoffs this year have just been so discouraging. Unfortunately, that's not what a lot of videos criticizing AAA focus on. It's like more mad about microtransactions, which I think is a bad business practice, but it's like, let's look at the material means of the workers, right? Like,
also,
why are
yeah,
these
but
happening?
like, I feel like microtransactions have settled into what they're supposed to be, which is just cosmetic fashion stuff. Like back in the day, or not back in the day.
Maybe.
I don't know.
A lot of them still aren't.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just I certainly don't play enough of them. That is fair. Like I remember in The Last of Us Factions, you could buy a weapon pack and in there was like the gun. Like you needed to buy like that's
and
not
that
cool.
sucks.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But then I play Fortnite today and it's like, oh yeah, I definitely will buy this Dragon Ball Z skin because I love Dragon Ball Z as a kid, you know? So to me, like that split, it's like, okay, I don't have to engage with this if I don't want to, but it's there. And Fortnite is a very extreme example, right? Because it's incredibly successful and prominent and heck works with Disney and stuff now. So
how did they pull that off? Like the amount of people they work with is why. I mean, I guess that's when you make billions and billions and billions.
When you
dollars.
have the kids, when you have the kids,
exactly.
you come to people come around. It's in a weird way, it's like Telltale. Remember when Telltale had both DC and Marvel licenses? You're like, how'd you do that?
True.
And then it all came crumbling down.
Yeah.
What a sad story that was. Please, Wolf Among Us 2, just make it out in one piece. Please.
Yeah.
I'm so desperate for that. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's you know, another thing that I see. I haven't been on Twitter in like a year and a half in any regular basis, so I don't even know what the dialogue's like these days. But I remember when the PS5 and Xbox Series X, like games were $70 now. I'm like, games should have been $70 for a long time. Red Dead Redemption 2 should be like $100 video game. What are you talking about? And so I don't know what that conversation is like these days, but personally, as again, the adult with money and time, or not time, but with the money, the discretionary funds, I personally am happy and maybe it's because I follow the game industry and I know what it takes to make these types of games, like what people have to do. And so I guess I'm then happy to pay that and support that. But it's either games get more expensive or you got to start nickel and diming to some degree. I don't
means of it. Yeah. Yeah. And also, alternatively, have games be cheaper to make, right? Like that also, I think, not on the consumer side, right? Like is the Sonic meme shorter games with worse graphics, you know, like,
I mean, does The Last of Us Part 3 need to cost $350,000? Like what? I think that's what Spider-Man 2 cost. Like, does it need to cost that much money? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot.
And I mean, and you know, I think like wanting to increase scope is a very understandable
scope creep is real.
Desire. Yeah. And wanting to have this thing that just feels perfect and is like the ultimate representation of your creative thing.
One of my favorite things though, and I don't think there's been a ton of them, but I love these $40, $50, what used to be like a DLC expansion is now just a spin-off game. But I really like that trend of the Lost Legacy, the Miles Morales.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I loved Lost Legacy.
That was an Uncharted 2 greatest hits.
Yeah, well, okay. So I think about this a lot. Like I am lukewarm on The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Blood and Wine is one of my favorite gaming experiences ever. Yeah. And it's because
Hearts of Stone,
Hearts of Stone, incredible too. Yeah, that's incredible too. But what I love about Blood and Wine is they, make a new map, which is much smaller in scope than the base game. But by it being smaller in scope, they're able to design it so intentionally. And it's just such a well-designed area. Toussaint is just like the way it's laid out and the way you can see almost everything and look at a landmark and know where you are. Like you can actually navigate without using the mini map or the map in a way that is really hard to do in the base game.
Absolutely.
It's just so cleverly designed. I think that smaller scope, and that's something I like about Shadow of the Erdtree too, is like, because it's so compressed and it's focused more on verticality opposed to wide expanse, like there is just a level of detail to the world that that is extremely impressive and never overstays its welcome.
And what's cool about those is it's after those games come out and they take the lessons they've learned in the reception and then can apply it and make the base thing even better. I haven't played Cyberpunk or Phantom Liberty, but similar response is what I've heard of. Phantom Liberty is great, and obviously the game's in a much better state technically, but it makes me miss the days of the DLC expansion, which is now just the spin-off, which I love those types of things. Uncharted The Lost Legacy, while incredibly compressed timeline for development, but that was just like a greatest hits of Uncharted. After 4 games, this is what makes Uncharted pop, while exploring like
here's the train.
Yeah, here's a train. Here's a Jeep chase. Oh, you want a tank chasing you? Like, fight a helicopter.
Here's your slow animal moment.
Yeah, gosh, we had remember that in The Last of Us? What if we did it with elephants instead? We've got giraffes, elephants. There was a zebra in part 2.
Yep.
Guess the next zoo animal, I guess, is like what we got to do. Maybe maybe we need something more vicious.
It all does work. Yeah.
It is clearly a Naughty Dog greatest hits. I think even there's a Crash Bandicoot style runaway. I don't know, it's all in there.
But yeah, I mean, I think, these bigger experiences that are huge scopes, your base game of Elden Rings, your Breath of the Wild, your Tears of the Kingdom, your Last of Us Part 2s, like these huge endeavors are impressive and are good. But yeah, it does make me wonder, would I rather have 1 Elden Ring or 3 Shadow of the Erd Trees? And the answer is 3 Shadow of the Erd Trees. Right?
Like, and it's, so do you go back to an era of, here's 3 Uncharted games all in the same console generation, 2 years apart, and so you get to, personally, I like Uncharted 3 more than those. So like those games to me grew and culminated in what would be the best on that platform, in my opinion. Or do you get here's 1 Last of Us game this generation. Hope you're ready to play that for,
Yeah.
I don't know how we get back to a balance. It feels like we've just swung out of balance.
Well, and to Sony Santa Monica's credit, God of War Ragnarok was a 4-year development. I mean, God of War 2018 came out in, I believe, 2018. And that's a 4-year development during a global pandemic too, right? Like, that is and
an incredibly ambitious title as well.
Exactly.
It's 2 games really in one. They really should have maybe split it up.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, story-wise, I think it maybe treads further than you'd expect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and, I think obviously it is quite a big game, but I think they were smart in how they scoped it and how they reused their assets from the first game, but did change them in a way that felt notable. But yeah, I think they were very clever in how they did it.
But frozen.
Yeah.
What if we had to animate less water? Everything's cold.
Yep. Yeah.
It's smart.
They were clever in a lot of important ways.
Yeah, man. I could talk. I'm going to fight the urge to have a Ragnarok tangent. Because I love a good Ragnarok discussion. But instead, I wanna deviate before, because I don't want to like totally run out of time. And you are a staunch Avatar: The Last Airbender fan and a Legend of Korra fan, and so am I. I grew up watching the show. I think I feel it's safe to assume, like you did, and I feel like a lot of this could be kind of applied to Avatar itself, of what we're talking about, both from it takes a long time to make something animated really well, that's told well, and when that is disrupted by Viacom, Paramount, Nickelodeon overlords, things may not go as well. And also, how do we get more of it? But also, that's good. And all of these questions are being asked again because there's now a studio. And I looked this up just for these show notes, but I didn't realize that, or I'd forgotten that we have a movie that apparently is coming out in 2 years. I don't know why. But then another show. Zuko may be getting a movie, which feels unnecessary. I don't know. Where are you at in the Avatar life cycle?
I'm mixed on it. I think I love Avatar. I love stories in the Avatar universe. I think some of the stuff that they've set out, as you said, like, do we need a Zuko movie? I don't know. I don't think so, to be honest. I don't know. I'm weird about prequels. I don't like most prequels for stuff.
Oh, interesting. I'm a huge prequel fan.
Are you?
I love them.
I like it. It has to be done well.
Yeah.
Which I mean, duh.
Sure.
Everything has to be done well. Like Better Call Saul, great. I think that does it really well.
Immaculate.
And I don't know. I think sometimes, and like Rogue One and Andor, I think are both solid prequels. I think what I worry about with prequels is when they focus on what genius Razbuten thinks is the wrong thing.
Yes.
Right. And I think like I don't think they have any plans to do this, but if they did an Iroh prequel, I would hate that. Because it's like, I don't want to see Iroh when he's a young man.
I feel I already know what I need to know about Iroh as a young man. He was a warlord and like, he wasn't a great guy in that sense.
Exactly. And I think the space in which we have to fill in the blanks and imagine, his thought process and maybe his conflicted thought process at the time, I think that is super valuable and super interesting. So like, what I like with prequels is stuff that is in the world, maybe tangentially related to the main going-ons and the main characters, but separate. So usually I wouldn't like something like Better Call Saul is what I'm trying to say. But
right.
It's Vince Gilligan.
Yeah, you gotta try. I remember when that show was announced, I'm like, do we really need a prequel about Saul Goodman?
Yeah.
And now it's better than, the original show.
Yeah.
And that's, again, them taking the lessons from Breaking Bad and applying it into something else. But it's with Avatar, I struggle though, because I feel like I guess I don't trust Viacom, Paramount, Nickelodeon, really. This is my problem. Especially with the way they just treated the team during Korra.
Yeah.
But it feels like we need a cinematic universe as like is on the PowerPoint slide in the business executive meeting, like, and this is the one thing we have. But Avatar does have this extended universe talked about candidly in the shows and has been explored in the books and I guess the comics afterward, which I haven't even really read a ton of those. Which I should, I guess, if I want to learn about Zuko's mom. But do I really want to? Do I need the Zuko mom? Or, I feel like
as someone who's read it, no, I actually don't think you do. Like,
we'll see.
I'm not saying that there's nothing powerful in the story, but I don't think I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think it really adds to the original story that was told. I think the way Avatar: The Last Airbender is told, it doesn't matter what happened to Zuko's mom, right? What matters is the impact she had on him when she was there and the impact that her leaving had, right?
And even if you go to the moment at the end of the whole show where he walks into the prison cell where his, spoilers for Avatar, I guess, walks in where his dad is and says, like, what happened to my mother? I forget the exact line. I feel like even that says everything you need to say. Like, we know where Zuko is now, and he's just going to get he's going to try and get the answers from his dad, which I can't imagine the Fire Lord being very receptive to that anyway. Like, so,
but it's the power shift. It's, hey, you answer to me now. Like,
yeah, that moment is what it conveys, not the answer to the question. Like, that's just a device used to show the shift in the dynamic of father and son.
Yeah.
I
mean,
I don't know. I struggle with this.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So, like, I think I have been on record saying I could watch stories in the Avatar universe forever. And I think that's true. It's just, I want them
you're going to get it now.
Yeah. I feel like I want them to be the right stories. And, of course, what I view as the right stories is going to be different than what other people view. And there's also, like, what is probably going to make the most money. And I imagine a Zuko movie probably would do better than a movie focused on some earthbender who isn't the Avatar, like, navigating life in Ba Sing Se during the 100 years that Aang is gone, right? That's what I want.
Sure.
That's, like, what I think would be rich and interesting if we're doing a prequel or something. But, like, that's probably not what makes the most sense for them in terms of capitalizing on the IP they have in appealing to this wider audience. I don't know. I also think, like, Avatar Studios is run by Brian Konietzko and Mike DiMartino. So, like, it is in good hands. Although, I know deep Avatar heads will be like, Aaron Ehaus, the writer, he's the reason it was good. It's like, he is an incredible writer. But I think, have you watched The Dragon Prince?
No, I have not. I actually don't have Netflix. We haven't had Netflix for a hot minute, but I have heard incredible things about it.
It's quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm going to leave it at a few sentences here and not dive super into the whys. But, like, I think watching that and watching Korra, like, side by side, you can very much see, like, this is how these two groups needed each other. I think Mike and Brian are very, very good at establishing setting and a world and world building. And Aaron Ehaus is very, very good with strong character moments and strong character motivations, and just dialogue in general. And I think, the marriage between them is a huge reason why Avatar: The Last Airbender was just kind of this perfect moment in TV. They just complemented each other's strengths so well. And I think watching those two shows, you can see where each is lacking.
It's like, if only they could reunite forces.
Yeah.
It's, I'm, two of these at least announced projects or talked about are movies, like an animated film in the movie theater. And my brain just keeps going back to, they already did that with the finale, which I feel like at the time and even since is unprecedented. I mean, it's a 90-minute finale of a show that felt so earned in its build up to everything. And I don't know if, gosh, how long has it been since Avatar ended? But, like, I don't know if Aang the Last Airbender, a film, in a weird way has, like, earned that. Like, it feels like too long. I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah. I also think that Korra, where Korra ended, and really where Korra began, to be honest, like, escalated the timeline of the world, right? The whole thing. I mean, the last season has, like, the first season has mechs, but the last season has, like, tons of giant. I guess Avatar: The Last Airbender had some of these things too. But yeah,
industry moves quickly.
Yes, industry moves quickly. So if we're doing an Avatar after Korra, it's like, unless you have Korra die at a pretty young age, of which they did with Aang, relatively. But, like, the next Avatar is going to be in the 1990s, right? Yeah. It's like, there are going to be video games in that world, which I do think could be interesting to see, like, a modern world with bending.
Yeah, like almost like a a Neo Tokyo
Mm-hmm.
neon lights, hoods in the rain.
Sure,
kind
sure.
of mood,
Yeah.
like Tekken.
But yeah, even like I'm just saying like 1990s.
Sure.
but you can waterbend.
Yeah. What we imagined ourselves doing in the early 2000s
Yeah,
in the swimming
exactly.
pool, but real.
Yeah. But also that doesn't feel like Avatar to me.
Right.
So it's like I wonder what they'll do with post Korra stuff. And I do know that Korra kind of spoilers for Korra, I suppose. It ends opening the door for a more spiritually balanced world, right?
Sure.
And does kind of push back against this ever growing aspect of industry, but the industry is still there. Right?
Varric didn't go anywhere.
Exactly. It's like you can't just say it stops because there are also spirits.
The hippies are in charge now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, these things will continue. And yeah, it makes me wonder where it will go and what the world will become in the next generation, if that is something that they explore, or if they just kind of are going to have to keep moving to the past. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, we're sounding like the air nomad struggle of Tenzin in later seasons of Korra. It's like a tradition.
Yeah.
We don't want to be nomads.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's interesting. I did want to ask you if you're going to go see Avatar in concert, even if it's close to wherever you live. But,
yeah, I have tickets. Yeah, I'm going.
I'm seeing it in October, and I'm through the roof.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're going to be able to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Feels like we're finally getting the respect the soundtrack deserves.
Yeah. I think, and then a few weeks after it, I'm going to Taylor Swift. So the two goats.
Godspeed, man. That'll be crazy.
Yeah,
that'll be a lot, man. Holy cow.
We'll see how much crossover there is between Swifties and Avatar: The Last Airbender fans. Hopefully a lot. I'm gonna dress up as Aang to Taylor. Is my thought.
Shave the head, tattoo your scalp,
real tattoos,
fully dedicate yourself like Jinora,
and see how into it. Yeah.
Taylor calls you out. I see you, Aang.
Nice head tattoo.
Nice head tattoo. My cabbage. Just take it. Actually, you should just carry a cabbage in with you, like the subtle fan approach.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for that. The music of Avatar is just so incredible, top to bottom. Like Jeremy Zuckerman,
something like that.
The composer's name. It's been a while since I've thought about all the people associated with Avatar, but yeah, oh my gosh, just so beautiful. I think I am mixed on Korra. Like the video I made on it called it a beautiful mess. And I like it's just a messy story that I think has so much beauty in it, and the music does some heavy lifting. There are some moments that I'm like, I don't know if this is earned, but I'm crying. Man.
Jeremy does. Jeremy like picked up the production on his back at times. And was like, I got you. Don't worry.
Yeah. Fills in some gaps for beats that maybe we're lacking, but quite incredible. Very excited for it.
And then I wanted to ask you, simply because I haven't watched it, because again, didn't have Netflix when it aired. How's the live action?
Oh, it's bad.
Okay.
It was bad. I didn't like it. I think I don't know. I don't like being a hater. I often am, but I don't like it. I think it, what I'll give it credit for is there are a few people who are trying really, really hard. I think a lot of people who are working on it are trying really, really hard. And I can appreciate that, is like the craft that went into it, while not maybe always the most skilled craft or the most enjoyable to watch. Like you can tell that it is a thing made of passion.
Okay.
Also backed by a thing of money, because Avatar: The Last Airbender did really, really well on Netflix. From when it got put on around 2020, like, then they knew there's money there. Obviously,
Sure.
like, each episode cost a lot of money. My point is, I feel like the creative team working on it was trying, which I know doesn't maybe matter to a lot of people, but I think you can see it there, and you can see, especially, I mean, it is weird. The length of time, like the minutes of this 8-episode season is about the same as the 20 episodes of the first season. Like, if you add up the time, it's pretty much the same amount of time that passes, right?
Okay.
Like, in terms of minutes, they use up the same amount of time to tell both stories. But because it's an 8-episode structure, they end up combining things, because yeah, you can't have like one episode of TV have 3 or 4 different resolutions.
Right. You can't mix all these, like, the little subplot adventures. I don't know where the Netflix show goes particularly, but it's like, how do you emphasize the importance of Aang learning about the spirit world while also having him, I don't know, ride an unagi, It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. And unfortunately, they cut the unagi. That's the answer to that one. Huge special effects budget.
Come on.
Problem. But yeah, so they combine a lot of stories. And what I will say is, like, when I look at it from a narrative perspective, I'm like, I understand why you combined that. And I can almost picture the people in the writer's room, like, having the aha moment of, like, if we move this beat from this story here, it can connect because they, have parallels in terms of the things they're telling, or they're in the same location. It's like that part of the craft. Like, looking at it, I'm like, I can appreciate the thought that went into the adaptation. Now, the issue is these changes they make fundamentally ruin the spirit of the show. They make it so the characters don't spend almost any time together, so that when you get to the finale and Katara is like, Aang, we care about you, it's like, you haven't talked to Aang all season because each episode you were doing your B plot as Aang did his A plot, and then Sokka did his C plot, all of which had you in different locations, doing different things, talking with different side characters who are now no longer relevant. So it's like, because it tries to fit all these things in and ends up pulling characters apart, because, like, what's good about the original show is when you do a plot or a subplot, all the characters can still be involved in that. But when you put them all in one episode and they have their different paths they have to go on, it's like they're with each other at the beginning of the episode, apart for 40 minutes, and then together at the end. And it's like,
fancy
you
running
don't get
into you here.
and I think so much of Avatar is the kinship between the group and how they feel like a group of friends. And I think that was an issue with Korra too, is like the gang and Korra, I don't know, like, it's not really believable as friends for the most part.
It actually kind of is like an example of the strength of the filler episodes, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They flesh out the world, but they also flesh out the core characters and just their dynamic with each other. Like, I've been slowly chipping away at a rewatch of Avatar this year, because I haven't watched it in a hot minute. But I just watched the episode, I think it's called Avatar Day, where Aang is accused of, killing their great leader.
Yeah.
And it's his past life as Kyoshi. And that whole episode, Sokka is a goofy detective with a bubble pipe. And, like, that's, like, just a character attribute of him that then gets kind of played out and gets little jokes and nods later on. But in a show like Netflix, I'm gonna guess there's no bubble pipe detective Sokka.
No.
Exactly.
No.
And so you lose kind of that essence of Sokka, which all builds towards great moments in the show. I mean, you talk about in your Art of Tearbending, but I don't think you get to the end of The Last Airbender, where he's hanging there on the blimp with Toph without Detective Sokka.
Exactly. Like, you need all those moments for like, looks like this is it. Like, I'm about to cry just like like
you made
like,
me
just
cry
like,
when I watched the video the other day.
You need him to be aloof in and like weird and wacky in different ways. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I know it got signed. I'm excited that it got more seasons because I want to see what they do with the whole story. So I'm interested in seeing how they adapt it. I don't think, like, you know, it shouldn't exist, because who cares? Who cares if people want to make a thing?
It doesn't impact the original.
Yeah,
like, we can always go back and watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I have enough copies of that show where I definitely can do that.
Yeah,
it never takes away.
I mean, what will they do with cactus juice, right? Like
they have to put cactus juice in there. They can't cut cactus juice.
Yeah. And I think my worry is what they're going to probably do is have him, you know, have like, make it a deep moment, right? Of like him having a hallucination of Princess Yue and be sad, or, you know, like,
yeah.
But it's like, maybe it can just be really silly. Like,
maybe he can just be tripping on cactus juice.
Exactly. But also part of what made the cactus juice so funny was the animation.
Yes.
Right. And just how it used animation and changed Sokka's look entirely as he did certain actions and looked at things. And just in a way that live action just really, unfortunately, can't. Or fortunately, I don't know. Animation's great. Animation can just be animation.
Yeah.
It is a different art style and achieves different things. And they don't always have to be, you know, they don't always benefit from just making it live action. You're always going to have things you lose out on.
Yeah, look at The Lion King or any Disney live action adaptation.
Yeah. Well, and you know, that's what I appreciate so much about the Last of Us adaptation. I do have issues with certain things and certain changes. And I wish they would have done way more stuff like the Bill and Frank episode.
Thank you.
Because it, like, the changes are interesting. The world that they, you know, is built. I know it's another post-apocalyptic zombie world, but it's still interesting. Like in the way its specific world works. My favorite stuff in the show was, you know, stuff like the Bill and Frank episode, is stuff like the cold opens. Man, that scene, I think it's the second episode, and it's like that they get that infection expert or whatever.
Yeah, talking about
like, who looks at the infection and just like, what do you think we do? And it's just like bomb, and it's like bomb. It's like, oh my god, like,
it is. The stuff they changed was the best part of that show.
Yeah.
And when they stick so closely to the script of the original, that's where they lose a lot of it. Like, the moments that are supposed to hit don't hit. I was just talking about this with a friend the other day, but like, Joel's march up to the hospital room is like, it's like it's, I don't know, it's not very good in the show.
Yeah. Well, so I think, I don't think I'll ever make a video about this, but I've thought about it. Like, I think part of what makes it so powerful in the game, is that you are doing it.
Yes,
right.
It's on the stick, as Naughty Dog likes to put it. You are.
Yeah.
The story is in your hands.
You are, like, you don't have a choice, but you are doing this thing. You are also, like, it is this thing. And there are so many arguments about, oh, Joel did nothing wrong or whatever. And it's like, in that moment, it doesn't matter if Joel is morally in the right or not. That's not what's happening. He's not justifying, like, he can justify to himself later why it was okay. But that's just like, it was that the person he saw as his daughter was going to be killed. And he wasn't going to let that happen again, right? And so you are with him for that whole journey. You're there at the beginning. You're there at the end. And as a player, you're like, we're doing this, right? So that's one part that's powerful, is like aligning with Joel in that moment where he's doing a thing that like is pretty barbaric, but also it's so messy in all stages of getting there. It is messy as a player, weaving through these groups of many guys. I mean, I guess if you're really good on your first playthrough, which I doubt most people are.
Yeah, no one's
like,
doing it stealth all the way first time.
Yeah, you're probably getting spotted. You're probably in cover. You're probably having these desperate moments where you're like, I need to get to that room soon, and taking hits that you shouldn't. Where in the show, he's just like tactical. He's like, bump, bump, got you, bump, bump.
Yeah.
You know, and then in the moment where, like with the doctor specifically, where you you know, have to walk through him, or I suppose Abby's dad. I guess we can.
Spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2
with Dr. Anderson. You know, the way that goes is so barbaric too. Like it's all feels messy in a way where in the show he's just like, I'm a Navy SEAL now. there's no trouble getting to the end. Of course I saved her.
Yeah, like there was no urgency or frenetic nature to it. And what's so interesting from a gameplay perspective is it's a situation you've never been put in before, and they give you a weapon that you've never used before, but a weapon that also conveys it's a level of power you've never had before. So you actually get to act out your desire in that moment, which is to save her at all cost. But you do it in a way where it's like you haven't handled an automatic weapon before in this world, and there are more human enemies, which are truly the scary ones in the game. And there's, you know, I mean, to talk about reusable items or crafting things, it's like now's the time. Like I'm not worried about holding on to the smoke bomb or the nail bomb here. Like I need to use this in all. So it's the frenetic nature of it lends itself to the urgency narratively. It's so good.
And like desperation. There's just desperation to it all. Where in the show, there's no desperation.
It's like, you know, 2 minutes.
Exactly. It's so quick. It's so clean and tactical. And, you know, I get like probably what they were going for, of like this switch flipping in Joel's head of like, I'm just going to do this mission and pull out all humanness from myself and not care about who I have to hurt to save this one person.
Yeah.
And there's some power to that too, but I just don't think it's nearly as effective. Yeah. There's also the like, when they do stuff line for line, that is, as you said, like the stuff from the game that they did in the show, like the whole conversation with Ellie and Joel, in what's the city called again that they I can't remember.
In Kansas City?
No, when they're like
early on or at the end?
Where like his brother is, where
Jackson.
Tommy is. Jackson, thank you. I can't remember. Like when they're in that area and having that conversation of like,
You're on mighty thin ice, that one?
Yeah. It's like, you should have just changed this whole, like you really should have just made something new, because the characters are different enough where they do, you know, they're not one for one, and they shouldn't be. So when it slips into the one for one, it's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah.
And I don't know if it hits as hard for even the people who haven't played the game. I guess we'll really find out when season 2 airs and what they do.
Yeah.
Because that's also what's, I think, so great about part 2 is they take that alignment with the character and twist it on itself for you in multiple ways, to leverage that storytelling medium through gameplay. And I'm so curious how they're going to approach that in the show, because there's a lot going on there.
Oh, yeah.
And they're doing it in 2 fewer episodes. Now, I believe there's basically a season 3 already, so like it's not going to be all of part 2 in one season. But I don't know what they're going to tell in 7 episodes and how they're going to convey that gameplay or film.
I mean, also, structurally, right? Because you know, the structure of part 2 is something that I think a lot of people take issue with. which I think I think it's brilliant.
I love it. It's
I love how the structure works. I love that you like. I get it. I get why people are mad about being switched to this character that they're spent the last 8 hours hating. But I think that's what makes it work.
It's the most.
That's what
it's
makes
one
it
of the most
cool.
powerful parts of the game.
Mm-hmm. It's like so grating, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
that's
how
good.
do you get
the
to
frustration is good.
It makes you feel
Mm-hmm.
different, both at the midpoint fight between Abby and Ellie, which is just like what a gut wrench. Like,
oh yeah,
they'd really take the whole you were playing as the villain thing to the whole, to its like logical next level. And then the very end of the game, it's like, oh my gosh, where I don't want to do this at all. Yeah, but I have to do it. It's
so
so good.
I like in both instances, like at any time those confrontations would come up, I like put my controller down and like I was like, I wonder if there's a thing where like maybe if you just die, like it goes this way, like, or if it's just a typical
there's no
fail
way.
state.
There's no you can't change it.
And it's just I imagine the show probably won't do that structure. My guess is the show will probably intercut it.
Yeah, I am picturing a Game of Thrones like thing.
Yes.
Also being told in order, not so much like here's the flashback moment, more like let's tell this story in order to some way. So,
and it'll be interesting to see if in that progression and in that medium, if people have a different take on it. Because I think about Game of Thrones, and like you've watched, I assume.
I have watched the regular show, all 8 or 9 seasons, and felt the the bum out.
Yeah,
there. Ironically, House of Dragons we started, and I don't know if it was like episode 4, 5, or 6, but the episode in House of Dragons season 1 where basically everyone is giving birth. That night is when my wife went into labor. So it was a very foreshadowing moment. And we never came back to House of Dragons after that. Yeah. So it was like really great to watch that right before watching my wife do it. It was like, this isn't good.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think like, I don't know. It's like Jaime Lannister, right? Mm-hmm. People love Jaime Lannister because of how he works. And I don't think it's 1-to-1 to Abby, right? But I think Game of Thrones has proven that characters like that. I think there's tons of people like that who aren't just that you're kind of should hate, but you enjoy watching them.
Yeah,
and you enjoy seeing their progression in the story and understand why they are them.
Look at Zuko.
Zuko. Yeah, Zuko's a great example of it.
Zuko's perfect.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if TV does a better job of dealing with that and handling that. I think also the way the show ended set it up a bit more.
Yeah.
Because
they knew where they were going.
Yeah.
Like they knew the final product of like the second part of the story. That was already complete. When at the time of The Last of Us, the game, it was just an idea, so we'll see, because undoubtedly part 3 is in the works. So I imagine they're stretching the TV show out to be in line with the game at some point. I mean, it will be
that would not be surprising.
I'm confident in my side of that, but we'll see how it all shakes out. Well, thank you so much, Raz. I think that does it today. I've kept you longer than promised, which seems to be happening more and more lately on the show. So thank you for hanging out with me and talking about all this fun stuff. The people can find you online on YouTube at Razbuten. They can find you on Nebula as Razbuten. They could subscribe over there or on Patreon. You're just I think you're the Razbuten or something on Twitter, but you search up Razbuten, much. You'll pop up.
You'll probably find me.
Yeah.
So I hope I answered some. I don't think I answered fully any question as we got to other interesting things, but I think I half answered a lot of questions. Hopefully, well enough.
No, that was perfect. I had so much fun with all the conversations and where it took us,
Yeah.
because that's like the beautiful thing about this format is I can do all of this and then the conversation just goes and it becomes its own thing. And I think that's the beauty of this whole thing and process and what I love about it so much. So thank you. If you would like to find the links about what we've talked about, you can check out the show notes in your podcast player or head over to maxfrequency.net/MFP-41. That's where this episode will be living in perpetuity. You could find my writing over at maxfrequency.net or check out my other podcast, Chapter Select, where we bounce back and forth between a series exploring its evolution, design, and legacy. Our test season was about The Last of Us, right when part 2 came out. So not a lot to bounce back and forth between, but we'll see what 2020 Max thought about those games if you feel so inclined. But thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, adios.